Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. We're your guides through sordid tales of movies, music, and pop culture. Our show is best experienced under the influence of cannabis, so now's your cue to light up. Now remember, drugs are dangerous. Please use responsibly, but do subscribe. And now your hosts, James Thomas and David Hawk.
Well, hello, everybody. I am your host, Dave. I don't know where James is. James is here somewhere.
You had to offer me to come back in.
Oh.
They won't let me do it because you
stopped. No. Hi. That's so funny. Hi. Well, welcome to the Mile High Podcast as I try to get my lovely co-host back up to us. That's funny. Hi, James. How are you?
Hi. I'll let you get Mel back up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Friday night and the Mile High Podcast. It has been a long time since I saw all of you guys. We have been on hiatus, and even before that, I was not back in it. So it's good to be sitting back at this table. Dave and Mel and all the other people who jumped in did an amazing job. But we are back. It is July. We are in the middle of a hot-ass summer. And it's the Mile High Podcast. Now, tonight's show, a little different. We're going to talk about shrooms in a minute. But first, we got to go around, say hi to everybody, and see what they've been up to. We're going to start with my good friend, Dave. Dave, what is up? How have you been, sir?
Good, man. How's it going? We miss you so much.
It has been nice, man. It's been busy.
Yeah. It's really nice to have you back. And I told you this when we had our little meeting the other day. It's like, I love hosting it, but the show is like exponentially better when you're hosting. So I appreciate it. And that way I can like try to do all the producing stuff. So I'm just glad you're on.
Right. Dave, keep an eye on what's happening online and everything. So if you want to comment, definitely comment, like, and subscribe on whatever platform that you're watching us across, because we're broadcasting across a lot of different things. And with me, again, is my beautiful wife from our other house that is much nicer than our house. Mel, how are you? How's things been going since the last 3 minutes when I saw you?
Things are good. Thank you very much. Just, lots of homework right now.
Yes, definitely.
Enjoy the summer. I decided to get it all done. So, but end of August, I'll be done, graduated. Time to move on.
Nice. Woo. So then we'll have some more shows with Mel jumping in there, because we definitely have some people. The all-girl show, very popular, and we have some people that want to step in and do that. And actually, with that, before we go into everything else, while we've been on hiatus, Dave has done a couple things. One of the big things that we want to talk about first and foremost is you went with Scratch Catering and our good friend Chef David to a trade show. Tell us about what did you do, Dave?
Yeah,
tell us about what you did.
Last Saturday, Chef David, who was on our show last week when we talked about the munchies, Chef David launched his new edibles line, and we went to this place called the Denver Dabbing Fest at some some like commissary kitchen or some kitchen that's like it's hard to explain. Like, restaurant companies send prototypes of equipment to this place, and this place you can test out the equipment before you buy it. But they use that space to put in this marijuana dab centric trade show, marijuana trade show. And so like I got to talk with all sorts of people in the cannabis industry. A lot of free samples. It was kind of weird because California right now just instituting mass again and shit, and we're here like dabbing, sampling dabs from the same piece. So that was a little weird, but I did not stop me one bit, and I got plenty high. Talked to a lot of people in the industry. I met a lot of people who want to come on a show, which is exciting for me, especially a lot of women in the cannabis industry, which I definitely want to give them some love, because I think they're an underrepresented portion of this emerging industry. So I definitely want to give them some love, and they'll be on, so check them out.
They're not underrepresented here, though, because one of our favorite guests, Courtney, she was our first industry guest, and so should really talk to more women in the industry.
Absolutely. I think we're very progressive in our old age. We're very progressive when it comes to that.
Speaking of dabs, Mel is on mute because she's dabbing right now out of a dab.
The old dab and cough.
And you can see you can see the cough going on. So
I just want to add one more thing before I move on. I want to give a huge shout out to Chef David because he fucking stole that trade show. I mean, everybody was coming up and getting his baked goods. I mean, like there were like big names, like the biggest names in Colorado when it comes to like regulators, when it comes to lawmakers, lobbyists, cannabis owners. All the big names are coming up and just telling David how amazing his shit was, and his baked goods were definitely the hit. So I want to give a huge shout out to him. So hell yeah.
So is Chef David, is he wanting to is he trying to brand it and sell it to dispensaries, or
yeah, he's trying to figure it out. The big thing is that he has to figure out childproof packaging, and they're freshly baked goods. So there's a couple of hurdles ahead of him.
Right.
But with
Shelf life being one of them.
With the kind of reception that he got, though, I definitely think that he could, definitely find an investor or something like that. And he just wants to sell to like one or two different dispensaries, and that's it. This is not his full-time gig. His catering thing, that's his gig. So so that's where it is. Great fucking time. I had a great time. So it was a big day for Mile High Podcast.
Nice. And Dave got hella stickers.
I got so many stickers. I just don't have room. I have so many stickers. I don't have room for them. So
right. See, this is when you need a trapper.
My mom says hi, Jamie.
Hi. Mel, while we were off on hiatus, you went to a festival in Denver as well. Dave was talking about how weird it was to go masses. You and I attended Pride Fest.
Yeah.
And we've gone to Pride numerous times in our life in a bunch of different states.
But
We've
this
been
year
to
was
Denver
so
Pride at
different.
least a half a dozen times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's your summary of this year's Pride? What did you think of it, and how did it feel to exist in the world without a mask?
I didn't understand the way they designed it this year. I don't mean to knock it, so let me start with that. Like James said, we always go, but I really didn't understand. Like normally they just have it all near Civic Center Park, right? Like just downtown by the Capitol in that big park, and everything kind of branches out into that circle of that street that goes in a circle around it, basically. And this year, they said to minimize the crowding, they did stations throughout Denver instead. And we went to the main hub station. The line was a couple hours long, and you get in there and it was just a couple booths. But because it was just in a center of some kind in a building, you were more crowded, even with fewer people. It was weird, but I really loved being around people again. That was really nice.
It was just different.
Briefly. Yeah. And you're all outside, so nobody was really wearing masks, and I understand it. And it was just I hadn't done that much. I'm not going out yet a lot. So it was very exciting, though. I do remember specifically getting a drink with James and looking at him and being like, this is so normal,
right?
And so it felt very, I don't know, uplifting, I guess. So
yeah, we were in Charlie's. That was a different experience to, from being away from people to being packed in a small environment.
Yeah.
I went to a show up at Red Rocks, maybe 3 or 4 days after the mandate was lifted. Like the CDC came out and said no more masks. All of a sudden, Carl said no more masks, and then my cousin Christy, who does the Potter Girls podcast, who's been on Mile High podcast before, she got us tickets to go see Last Podcast on the Left up at Red Rocks, and it was almost near capacity and not a mask in sight. It was very strange, but also, like you said, it was very normal feeling. Like you felt like you're back at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a halfway world.
But I still wear my mask everywhere else. I just knew it was pointless there. It was outside mostly, so even if I went inside, it was going to be to eat, so it didn't make sense. But I still wear mine in the store, so I'm not there yet.
Look at there.
Well, excellent. Yeah, and if things are definitely opening up, we just had the All-Star game, which, is something for Denver, I guess. I do want to point out besides saying hi to your mom, I know I kind of ran by that. Your dad just had a birthday. So one of our big contributors.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
happy
Paul.
birthday,
It's
Dad.
a little belated birthday on that. So
this is my dad. He's like, hey, Dad, can we come over? Do you want to hang out? Do you want dinner? He's like, no. I just want to, hang around the house. I don't want anybody coming over. I don't want this to be a big deal. I'm like, yeah, that's my dad. That's how I am too. I don't tell anybody my birthdays. I try not to celebrate my birthday too much. Like I downplay it. That's just my day.
See, I go out of town. I go crazy on my birthday. Speaking of going out of town, and you do one other thing while we were off the air, Dave. Have you talked about that? Did you go on your trip yet?
I went to Seattle. Yeah, I went up to Seattle for a few days. I talked about it briefly, but it'd be fun to talk about now. It was a great trip. It was definitely a food destination. Going to Pike's Place Market. I work at Starbucks for the time being, and we got to go to the fancy Starbucks that's there, the roastery. We got to walk down in Pike's Place Market and just check out all the food stalls that are there. Not great in Mexican food. Like we love Mexican food. There was not a lot of good Mexican restaurants, but what they had was amazing fucking Asian food. That was the best things that we had. We went to Chinatown and we had, all sorts of like Asian hot dogs and dumplings and all sorts of shit. So that was real good. On the last day, we almost saw a guy get shot, which was an exciting end to our trip. After our flight got canceled the night before, we went to a Starbucks the next day and watched a guy almost get shot. So wow. Very exciting end. The weed down there, I can't tell if it's just not potent or the combination of me being a stoner and a stoner at altitude affected the potency of the weed down there. So I'm not sure. I tried to get high as much as possible. The only time I got high was I had fucking like 2 joints left and we were heading to the airport and I had to fucking smoke them like real quick before I got into the airport. So I went out to the parking lot and just like burned them down as fast as I could. And I got a little high. And so like I said, I don't know if it's because of the Seattle weed or just the fact that I smoke at altitude, but it was a lot of money for not a lot of weed.
Mel, you were Pacific Northwest weed smoker on your own. What do you think comparatively? Because my thing is Vegas, we've done the weed in Vegas and Southern California. Both I find really comparable. I would argue that some of the weed I smoked in Southern California was even better than the weed I smoked here. But I haven't done the Pacific Northwest. Mel, you've done it. What do you think of the weed?
Well, I mean, the Pacific North, it's Humboldt. Like that's where I'm not from, I don't want to misrepresent. I'm from the Bay Area, which is hours away from Humboldt. So I've spent time there. So, there's a lot of people there who've spent decades since before it was legal cultivating a passionate love for growing really good weed. And so you can definitely find some very good strains out there. I don't think I've been to Washington since they legalized it. I've been to Oregon and Nevada.
Yeah, what do you think of Oregon?
Oregon's was not that good either, to be honest.
I hear that about the Northwest. Like people are once you get outside of California, they're kind of unimpressed with the weed up there. Who knows?
My guess is it's not worth it for people from Humboldt to try to figure out how to, get it to Oregon right now, especially because we recently watched a documentary on it. There's people who still aren't legally growing it there because they have other beneficial, places to put it.
Well, those bucks up in the Northwest are all farm to table people, so it's probably just the shitty weed that they grew in their backyards and everything. So
I will say though that the bud tenders were super nice.
Good.
And when I talk about like, there's not a lot of female representation in weed. I went to 2 dispensaries and it was completely staffed by women, 100%, and I thought that was really cool.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So, all right. And, so see, that was good. That was it. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Before we go on to talking about shrooms, which I know everybody was here for, we got to talk real quick about, let's throw a couple things out that we have watched because we always do this. And I'll start with you, Dave. What have you watched? What do you want to talk about?
All right. So we'll hold off what I want to talk about to the end of this segment because I watch a lot of stuff. Obviously, okay. I always watch a lot of stuff. I think the things that stuck out was The Summer of Soul on Hulu. It's a documentary by Questlove about this soul music festival in Harlem right around the same time as Woodstock. Okay. Everybody fucking like knows Woodstock, but hardly anybody knows about this street festival, and you had all the biggest names in soul music, from like Nina Simone down to like Stevie Wonder, fucking Gladys Knight and the Pips. I mean, it was massive, and it was like, you know, you had tens and tens of thousands of people come in to watch this, and it was put on by a guy who really didn't have any money. He just like, he knew that area of New York was a powder keg, and it was right off the, you know, Martin Luther King being assassinated and Robert F. Kennedy being assassinated, and so he knew that it was a hot summer, and he said, you know, either we break into violence or we give them something to do, something to look forward to. And so he rounded up all these big acts from like Motown and whatnot, and they put on this festival, and Questlove took all this footage, digitized it, you know, made it the sound incredible. So I would say that was probably the best thing that I've seen. But also Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt out of Prime.
Really, I hear
that was a cool movie. It's just, you know, it is every bit as good as Independence Day. I mean, it's a fun. Yeah, people shit on it because like it's not terribly believable, but it's like, it's a fucking sci-fi movie. It's a blockbuster sci-fi movie. It has every element of a blockbuster that you could want. And Chris Pratt is a decent actor, and he was a fun, and the aliens in there are super cool. So I highly recommend that.
So, okay, comparatively to a sci-fi movie, what is a better Chris Pratt sci-fi movie, that or Passengers?
That Tomorrow War for sure. Passengers was good, but it was boring. It was hella boring.
There you go.
Tomorrow War is great. I'd say of all the sci-fi movies, of course, Jurassic World is probably the best, but this one is a really, really good sci-fi movie. I highly recommend it.
There you go. Mel, what have you been watching?
I was trying to remember, what have I been watching?
I thought you'd bring up Physical.
Yes, thank you. I was trying to think of the name. I've been watching Physical, which is a show about a woman she's like an she's a yuppie. She's a former hippie that's turned yuppie in like the early 80s, and she's very empty, and she is just unfulfilled, and she runs into this aerobics class with like jazzercise in it, and she's obsessed with it. And basically the story, as far as I can tell, and I don't think this will be spoilers, I think everybody can tell it's going this way, is it's going to be that she comes up with the first home video version of, you know, aerobics, which at-home aerobics became a huge craze in the 80s when everybody had VCRs. So, but she's relatable in some ways, and she's got this like other stuff going on, like she's struggling with an eating disorder. Her husband is running for Congress. He's also like a former hippie turned university professor who's been, you know, fired, and so he's trying to figure out where he fits in again. And it's just been very interesting, but it's not really like comedy, which is weird because that's usually my style. I don't think I've watched much comedy this summer.
Yeah, no, that Physical, we gave Apple TV a couple different things. We watched that. They did a whole Pride special about representation, which was fascinating. Always a good history.
Did you watch Ted Lasso?
We did not watch Ted Lasso. It's on the list.
You gotta watch Ted Lasso. The second season starts next week, man. It's fucking amazing. It's so good.
I do hear that about Ted Lasso, but no, we haven't watched. I keep seeing it. I was like, Dave's gonna ask me once I start talking about Apple TV programming if I watch Ted Lasso. We did that, and we did 1971, the year that changed music. Another good one. We're giving Apple TV a shot.
Fear Street.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Fear Street's been pretty good.
Yeah, I've been pretty impressed with the layout of Fear Street. It's it functions I feel like it functions as a full complete movie. I think they didn't know what to do with that. You know what I mean? I almost feel like they were like, should we make this a mini series? Should we make this? They really could have cut that movie at any place that they wanted to, and really kind of put it out.
I'm fine with a trilogy. That's fine.
What's funny is like I have never heard of Fear Street, and I was told like, oh, it's an R.L. Stine, and so to me, R.L. Stine's like Goosebumps, right? Doesn't he do Goosebumps?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what I was
and then I'm like, so it's a kids movie. So then I'm watching it with my kid who's 13 years old, and we're like, this is a little inappropriate, and like. Then the bread slicer happens. I'm like, holy shit, this is an R.L. Stine story? This is crazy.
It's very intense, like violence warning. But I loved it. I don't know why. I like gory stuff. Because it's silly to me.
Yeah.
And good play on tropes. It has a good play on tropes.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that we had to talk about is that it just completed its series this week, was Loki. Loki did 6 quick episodes. I thought they were solid.
Yeah.
I would say, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen any of this, but I would say what I believe that the Disney Plus cinematic Marvel universe is doing is setting up their next phases of movies by introducing much bigger, deeper magic than the first set of movies ever did, and the multiverse. That's literally, except I haven't finished Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I doubt it.
That really ties into Black Widow. Black Widow ties into the Hawkeye show. Loki ties into all Phase 4. Loki is the very beginning of Phase 4.
And WandaVision, Scarlet Witch at the end of WandaVision introduction.
Yeah, for sure. And they discussed the multiverse in the original Doctor Strange. So they put like little Easter eggs, and definitely WandaVision set up the multiverse. But this is like, you find out who is going to be the bad guy. You find out the rules of the multiverse. You know all the characters they're being introduced, so it really sets up. And because Kevin Feige has been up front saying, like, Kane the Conqueror, who was Jonathan Winters from Loki, he's going to be the big bad guy in Ant-Man, but he is bigger than Thanos, so he will drive everything that's going forward. And I believe, I don't know this for sure, but I believe the Eternals has to do with the collapse of the multiverse, and then all the ramifications of everything splintering out.
Okay, that would probably make sense. Like, they needed to get in on that. That's why they came out, because all the Eternals have been doing, at least from their previews and the little bit I know through comic book history, is they just watch us. They just kind of hang out and stay hidden and everything. So
I want to jump in here real quick. We want to give a shout out to Sean. He just finished watching Loki, and he's watching the Star Wars Bad Batch. Rob Roberts here. But I am remiss to announce, I forgot to say this, that we have to wish my parents a 50th wedding anniversary. 50 years is a long fucking time.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a long time. It was like a couple weeks ago, so it's okay if I forgot a little bit. I remember my dad. But happy anniversary to those guys. Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
And then Dave, you watched Black Widow. Give us a spoiler free, because I haven't seen it yet. What do you think about it?
I won't give any spoilers. It was a good movie. It's definitely not up in the upper echelon. Like, there are a lot of people saying, like, it's one of the best of all time. It is not. To me, it's not. This is not really a movie about Black Widow. This is a movie stolen by David Harbour as whatever the fuck, the Russian version of Captain America. He is so fucking good in this movie. He absolutely steals the show. You really didn't get much out of this movie. It's set in between Civil War and Infinity War. And you learn about what happened in Budapest. You learn about how Black Widow came to be, and it also sets up the next Black Widow, that's not a spoiler. That's been common knowledge for a long time. But it's a pretty forgettable kind of movie. It's a fun action Marvel movie, but it's definitely not up in the upper echelon. It was good.
Is it worth premium access? Would you suggest somebody getting premium Disney access to watch it?
If it's between that and going to the theater, I would rather do the paid access versus going to the theater to see it.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, we talked about everything we watched and everything. We are going to move into something new and fresh. We are going to talk about mushrooms. And a good way to start that, I'm going to start with this. I don't know what it's going to sound like. I don't know what I said during this. Here's my recording. Dave asked me to record the trip. Here's my recording. There's a dog.
I already like this video. I can't hear your sound.
I can't hear my sound either. Even on my end. All right, never mind. I'm going to stop here. And Dave is going to share
my video.
His video with
maybe.
Maybe
we will see
That's
about
hilarious.
that, because We're still learning all the fancy ins and outs of old Zoom here. So let's try this. Do you see it now?
Let's
Do you see it?
I see a black screen.
Cool. That's all. That's what we need. What's up, everybody? This is Dave from the Maha. Great. The sound sounds amazing. Podcast. This sucks, man. Why are we so bad at this technology stuff? Here, let me go from a different way.
Well, oh yeah, if we put our pictures on top, it'll make it better. I like how part of the different way was the positioning of us in the screen. All right. While Dave's figuring that out,
just keep working.
Okay. While Dave's figuring that out, we are it's the Mushroom Show. Dave and I did some mushrooms. So did Mel.
Mushroom Show, and we're fucking. You think that we're high on mushrooms right now? The way this is going,
right? No. We were able to get a hold of about a half ounce of mushrooms each a few weeks ago, and we of course ran through it. We had a couple different experiences on it. Mel and I spent some time with friends, some time at home. Mel one time took some mushrooms the night that I actually recorded. Mel took mushrooms and then went to sleep an hour and a half into the mushrooms that night. I think that was the last of our mushrooms too.
Yeah.
I think I might have my video up.
Okay, we'll see Dave's video. We'll be back at it.
Want to give it a shot?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do this. See, the problem is when I try to do this, it will not show my it won't give me the little thing at the bottom that tells you oh, here's your little video. So here you go. I want to play it. I'm playing it now. What's up, everybody? This is Dave from the Mile High Podcast. We are doing a little bit of an experiment for our Shroom Show coming up. James and I have been tasked with taking a small dosage of psychoactive mushrooms, and we are going to record our experience. We've had a couple of experiences already with these, and it's a hell of a journey from beginning to end. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after I take these videos. But I wanted to show you, I am doing tea. I am doing Shroom Tea. I can't stand the taste. It tastes like...
So it's weird. We have your audio. It sounds great.
There's no video.
Yeah. So this way, I'm hoping to get all the effects, but not have to throw up in order to do so. So I'll be checking in throughout the night. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. All right, bye. Checking in. Yeah, it's weird. It won't allow me to physically allow me to play my video.
That's all right. Maybe we'll try to edit it in. We'll put it up on YouTube. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll fix it in post. This is really exciting for all of our two watchers.
There you go. That was amazing, Dave.
Sorry.
Good video.
Thanks, man.
Fixed in post. No, but it was definitely a good night.
And it won't even stop.
I hear.
Won't even stop me from playing. That's so funny. Okay, I am trying so hard.
Hilarious.
Which is funny too. I had such a good trip on this. It was so good. It was such a good trip. I didn't bummed out it's not playing my video.
So generally, I mean, what do you guys think? Here's my personal thing is this: I love mushrooms, almost to it's a good thing they're not legal obsession. I would always do mushrooms. I would do mushrooms over weed. Mushrooms are by far my favorite drug to do. I get something out of every trip because to me it is really a trip. I'm learning something at that time. There's a journey, there's a path I have to go through almost every time. And it's not grand, it's doesn't have to be life-changing, but I come out of the other end of it different. What is your feeling on that, Mel? Is that how you treat mushrooms? What are mushrooms to you?
To me, because of the effects that mushrooms has on me, it's like a special occasion thing. I enjoy it, but I could never to it every day or anything. You know, it could not take the place of any of my other habits, I guess is what I'm saying. But when I do have it, I've never had like a bad trip. I had a weird experience at a reggae festival once, but other than that, I've never had like a really bad trip or anything. So I like them. I like them a lot better than LSD or X or any of those other, you know, party type drugs.
Would you consider mushrooms a party drug or is it a journey drug to you?
Well, I mean, I don't know, you know, the whole expanding your mind type thing. I think that one really does expand my mind in some ways. It's funny because I don't know if it's true. I wish I had recorded myself because I always go through a period in shrooming where I feel like I am on top of my quick, witty remarks for some reason. And like, I don't know if you noticed, but you and the friend that we were hanging out with, you guys were laughing hysterically for like an hour. And I was like, I am fucking hilarious, you guys. And so I love that part of it. But you know, there's some other stuff. Like when I first started doing it, it was like I had rules. You couldn't like, I'd make it a plan. You're hanging out in the house. Nobody's leaving. Like I wouldn't even leave my room if I didn't have to because I didn't know what I'd do. But you know, we've explored.
Yeah,
Tell our
adventure. The
honeymoon
adventure.
stories.
Yeah. What about you, Dave? What are shrooms? What are shrooms to you? Like, are they just a party drug? Are they an experience? Do you have a goal when you're doing shrooms, or are you just like, yeah, shrooms? Here we go. Boom.
No, so that's how we were when we were eating shrooms by the handful when we were younger, like college age kids. There, you know, we had that pile of shrooms on your kitchen table, and we were just taking handfuls, and there was no consideration of what was going on. Like I had no idea what was going to happen. We had no idea about dosage or anything like that, and we just let nature take its course, and we got really fucked up. This time around, you know, because we had a limited amount, we had to like, and you know, so much more research has been done. You know, it's been 20 years since I last did it or something like that, and you know, people have been taking it for the last 20 years and kind of dialing it down. You know, this is a recommended dosage and whatnot. So I went into it with a lot more knowledge than before, and when I took it the first time, like. I didn't take enough. So it was nothing more than like a good high. Like I felt really high. I was real happy, but I didn't have really anything much more than that. So like a few days later, I took more and I watched Baby Driver by Edgar Wright. And I just had an existential experience like I've never had before in my life. The movie was so funny. You know, it was, you know, it's a fast action drive like car movie with a great soul soundtrack and shit. And so I had an existential. I was laughing so hard. I was in tears. Just had such a great journey. And then the next time I had like the last couple of times I've been lost in watching concerts and stuff. Cause you and DW were the ones who were like, you should listen to music. And so I did, and I started like listening to concerts and just zoning out and like having these weird emotional journeys. I mean, the highest highs, the lowest lows, and like you really find out who you are as a person, which is the experience I had, and our friend DW had the same exact experience. It's like all this bullshit that's going on in your brain gets, you know, kind of like filtered away, and at the very end, the last thing that you have is the essence of who you are as a person. Right. You realize what your imperfections are, but you realize, you know, what makes you happy. I mean, it's an experience like I've never had before. And I you know, we're amongst friends here. I gave some to my parents and let them enjoy some of that.
Anniversary present.
Yeah. And they use it on their anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. So for me, it's a journey. I think it's defined by the journey. The journey from even just the whole journey of like, you know, prepping up and like, you know, taking it, waiting for it to kick in, feeling the ebbs and flows, feeling like the numbness towards the end. I really wish I could play this fucking video, man, because it's a perfect example of what a mushroom journey is. Just like from, you know, nothing to all of a sudden shit kicks in, and it kicks in real fast, and then you're just like numb, and your body just goes through a journey the whole time. And that's what happens. That's part of the psilocybin. That's part of the effects. So
yeah. Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you let us know? I mean, because Dave is our science guy. So Dave, before we go into a little more about like our personal trips, which are unique ways, why don't you give us the lowdown on why the mushrooms do to us what they do to us? What's the active ingredient and how does it work?
Yeah. So the active ingredient is psilocybin. It's hard to say like rule 5 times fast, but psilocybin. It's a fungus that grows on magic mushrooms, and there's like 180 different varieties of magic mushrooms all over the world. Like then you can actually go up and forage for them up in the mountains. I would not recommend it because they look a lot like the mushrooms that will actually kill you. So if you're not an expert, then definitely I would not do that. So what happens is like you eat the mushrooms or you drink it in a tea, which I did when I recorded the video, I made it as a tea because I cannot stand the taste, and I do everything I can to mask the taste. So I tried it as a tea, but it made it, I think it diluted it a little bit for me. And it takes about 30 to 40 minutes for the psilocybin to go into your stomach, and it gets broken down to psilocin. And then from there, from your stomach, it goes up to your brain. And what it does is it's what's called a serotonin receptor. So it binds to the places in your brain where the happiness chemical, the serotonin goes, and then it changes your brain, and the psilocin will actually have parts of your brain communicate to different parts of the brain that they never talk to normally. Like it opens up pathways in your brain to other areas that it never talks to. And a lot of it happens in your visual center. So that's where you get your hallucinations. When I was tripping the other night, I was looking at my phone, and like my phone was like, going in and out like a 3D model. That's also, it affects it gives you a little bit of numbness. It numbs your tongue a little bit. It gives you a spiritual awakening, hallucinations, distracts your thinking, changes your emotions. Like you have quickly changing emotions, and that's part of this. Like when I was tripping, man, I was like really fucking happy. I was like laughing so hard, and then like 2 seconds later, I was in tears. I was in little tears, just about something, and then like a couple minutes later, I was back up again. So. And then just the peacefulness. Afterwards, you kind of have this feeling of peacefulness, like. I just had an experience that changed me, and I feel really peaceful. And
Right.
for somebody who has ADHD and depression like I do, it was, you don't really have that feeling very often of just peacefulness and quiet in your brain. So that was one of the things that really I enjoyed about this time.
Oh yeah, mushrooms definitely. It's part of that being that trip that takes you to those highs and those lows, and that peaceful level where you come to the realization. Mel, being the representative of counseling and mental health that we have on the show, what do you think? What is this something that is this healthy for us? Do you think this is something that can help people out?
So I want to preface this with I've not taken a class specifically talking about shrooms very much, but I do know that they've done things like fMRIs on brains while shrooming, and that it's like a hyperconnectivity is what they call it. So there are parts of your brain that they don't always connect at the same time with live activity, right? Like an electric signal type thing. So when you're shrooming, a lot of them all connect stronger than normal all at once. And I think, Dave, that's when you get that kind of like, like you were saying, the hallucinations. And then afterwards, everything's very calm because everything's just relaxing. And that is probably very good for somebody who has a lot of anxiety. There's not a lot of official studies talked about in any of my classes as far as like long-term effects of using it, except to say that like people have been permanently altered, not in major ways really very often, but have been personally changed in ways that, people say they're going to change who they are or make this big drastic personality change. But those are really hard to fight because there's a lot going on for why you have that trait to begin with, right? But you can shroom one time and something will change you sometimes. And it's they don't always know why. But it's fascinating. It's obviously it's fun as well. And so as far as, whether or not it's bad for you to do, it's no better or worse than any other drug in reasonable moderation. And, considering whether or not you have any predispositions to things like addictions or any kind of like history of psychotic episodes or schizophrenia. Like you are more prone to things when you party too much with that kind of genetic history. But even that doesn't, discredit you from
Moderation, the key is definitely the key
yes,
to most.
everything.
Yeah.
Like nobody, there's not this great secret behind in schools where they're saying like, don't let anybody ever do anything. That's I think that comes from a place of combating addiction where you really shouldn't do anything anymore, which is
Right.
different.
It's finding that balance. Um, so one thing I want to touch on is because Dave talked about doing his music and seeing the concerts and watching Baby Driver. Mel, I was there for some of your experiences. What is it like? What do you like to listen to anything particular? Do you like to watch anything particular when you go on those trips?
So when I first started shrooming, like I said, it would be my room and it would just be I would pick um, weird things to watch. I can't really even recall what they were. They were usually like kind of weird, like Pink Floyd type, video things. And because we had we had DVDs of things like The Wall, so we'd watch things like that.
Right.
But later on, I started doing them like at music festivals, which was a little bit different, and you kind of wander off into the woods, and it's just that's when I started to appreciate the visuals much more. And so now there's times where I can just have just a softly colored light, listen to certain kinds of music, and I will just get to a point where I just want to stare at the plain white ceiling and see what I see, kind of a thing. See what I come up with because everything else already exists, right?
Right. No, I think that's good. I mean, music is a great way to experience. I very much enjoy music. I've done Pink Floyd to the Wall or Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon to The Wizard of Oz with both of you guys at different times tripping shrooms.
Yeah.
Um,
You were the one that showed me the dwarf committing suicide.
yep, yep.
While you were shrooming? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go. Sometimes I go cold and dark.
That was
Um,
mean.
I've been watching, and I bring back a lot to Buffy too. I've been watching Buffy on and off when I'm streaming, and that gives me a pretty deep. There's deeper stories to all of those, so I can usually find a connection or at least a theme of what the rest of my trip is going to be about, of focusing in my own life from watching that. My most public streaming and the most enjoyable, uh, or the most interesting was when Mel and I took shrooms in Amsterdam. And before we started the show, Dave specifically asked, are these legal in Amsterdam? And they are. They're sold at smart shops, and actually, you can buy that in ecstasy in the smart shops in Amsterdam. But we could always find ecstasy in America, so we went with the shrooms. And when we got in there, the lady, she wanted to know what kind of dose we wanted, and we're like, "Listen, we're from America."
And she's
So,
like, "Oh, I got you."
yeah. And we took those shrooms, and then we wandered around Amsterdam, and it was just crazy. I mean, because all the houses, if you don't know anything about Amsterdam, the people in Amsterdam, the houses were taxed on the size of their doors. So if you had a big ass door, you got to pay more taxes. So what they actually did is all the houses are built out at a
An
slight
angle.
angle, and they have a pulley system and big bay windows at the top of them, so they can have really small doors. But they bring their furniture up through these big bay windows. Something that you look at these houses and you don't really notice. You're like, it's kind of like San Francisco. It's tall, lengthy buildings. You don't think much of it. But then you take
Until
rooms, and it is like the world just all of a sudden you start looking, you're like, wow, the world is really folded in slightly,
it's like a pop-up book all
Like
of a sudden.
it really is it's like a pop-up book. Um, so yeah, the shrooms in Amsterdam, actually probably some of the best shrooms I had, some of the craziest visuals that you ever have. And you don't always think you can do things on shrooms. Sometimes you're like, damn, I can't do shit on shrooms. But really, you just kind of chugged through. We chugged through that day. We were out for hours. We sat next to a cop. We rode a train. We went into KFC and they were blasting Rami. It was a crazy, crazy experience.
And Amsterdam's a weird place to shroom. Like in the main street, they have these like outside like portable pee buckets for guys, like
Right.
around certain light poles and stuff. Like it's a weird place to be shrooming. There's no cars except these giant Red Bull ads for some reason.
Yeah, it's
And water, like big canals through every street.
right. And Anne Frank's house, all weird.
and Frank's house.
We did not do that on the same day, obviously.
So I can't imagine like walking around or doing anything like that on shrooms. My legs were so jellified when I was shrooming. It took me a lot of energy to get off my couch and come back into my office to do my shroom videos. But like my folks were walking around a casino, and you guys were walking around Amsterdam. I mean, that is beyond me. I don't know how you guys manage.
You have to set the tone though, because like I said, when I first started, I was like you, where I just wanted to stay in my room with my friends that were, who knew what state of mind I was in, really. I was like, no, this is the only people I can trust right now. and I could control my surroundings because I didn't want to freak out. But if you set the tone ahead of time and you're like, this is what we're going to do while we shroom, it's a very different experience. If you're already outside while you take them, you're not going to want to lay down, because I do want to just lay down and see what I see sometimes. And you do still want to do that, and you'll find a place to do that. It'll just be a park or something.
Yeah, and it should be a more interesting. Part of the thing is probably why you'd rather sink in and do anything like that is this environment. We even walked around our neighborhood, and it just wasn't that exciting. The reason that your parents probably did it up in the hill, and we did it in Amsterdam, and I will almost do shrooms in any experience. I've done it at Disney World before. The amazing thing about shrooms, I think the outsideness of shrooms, is that there's always another door, and there's always something different. So once you're already in that environment, imagine how amazed you were about what you saw of Baby Driver, or the music that you were listening to, or everything else like that. Once you're already out in it, once you're just heavy into the shrooming thing, the next corner is what excites you, in the same way that the music excites you before and everything. And you probably think you look stupid, but I think if people saw Mel and I walking around Amsterdam, we were just probably kind of walking slow with really big eyes and talking about actually probably pretty normal shit relatively.
Except for when I spent 20 minutes taking pictures of that cat through the window.
Right. So, yeah, no, I'm envious of your parents. Next time I get a hold of
shrooms,
I'm going to get some shrooms, and I'm going to go up to the hill, and I'm going to start at the Grand Z, and we're just going to take the shrooms there, and we're going to ride down that bus and walk. Oh, that sounds so cool, because sensory, man. You get light sound, and you get the outside. They're watching. Did they have a great time? Did they do what I thought they were doing, was walking around the casino, and did they walk around, or did they just chill?
Let me get caught up on. So they watched Pink Floyd, Laserium. In Amsterdam, they did not do shrooms. They got ripped off. And the casino was the second time. And did you guys just walk around? Go ahead and answer. I'm watching the.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so I really enjoyed walking around. I in different environments. I've been impressed recently because we were trying to save it, and I've probably tripped more since we got those to Mel did, because I've started to appreciate the microdose. I don't need a lot. I don't need it to get to a lot of a visual. To me, I just need to get right to that trip point where I start yawning and everything gets just a little bit off, so my mind can focus in a way, because I'm a visual storyteller. You're a writer, Dave. You know how that stuff is. So to me, everything's a continuation of a story. So I'll find myself talking to myself and be like, okay, where am I going with this tonight? Or, even mentally, where is this taking me? What is this journey going to be? Where do I want to focus it to? And so I like that with microdosing. Next time I do a lot, I want to be in a neat place where I can go outside. Microdosing, I can do that. I could literally microdose a couple times a week, and I'd probably be very, very happy.
Yeah, the hard part is, man, it's still in its infancy, becoming legal. You can't find that shit anywhere. We just locked into this shit, and then we did like anybody who has not had something for a real long time, and all of a sudden had access to a lot. We blew through it real quick, and then we're I still have a little bit left, and that's after doing it a few times and also hooking my folks up. But you're left wanting that experience a little bit more, which is I I definitely want that, to find a contact for that, but it is illegal. And I try not to do stuff that will get me arrested because I have a kid and everything. And that's a bad example to set for your kid.
My kids are 18 and 20. I don't care if I get arrested. People of Colorado, if you have a regular shroom hookup, contact us at milehighpodcast@gmail.com.
The milehighpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. Send us a message on Facebook. Tell me I'm down. Dave doesn't have to know. It could just be our little secret.
No. That's not how this works. If you get a hookup, man, we both get a hookup. So
there you go.
All right. Do you want to? I'm gonna try. I think I might have gotten this to work again.
Okay.
Famous last words. Famous last. What's up, everybody? This is Dave from the Mile High Podcast. We are doing a little bit of an experiment for our Shroom show coming up in July. James and I have been tasked with taking a small dosage of psychoactive mushrooms, and we are going to record our experience. We've had a couple of experiences already with these, and it's a hell of a journey from beginning to end. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after I take these videos. But I wanted to show you, I am doing tea. I am doing Shroom Tea. I can't stand the taste. It tastes like absolute garbage. It's disgusting. And every time I try to eat them, I almost throw up. So this way, I'm hoping to get all the effects, but not have to throw up in order to do so. So I'll be checking in throughout the night. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. All right, bye. All right, checking in. We are 30 minutes past taking the tea or drinking the tea. And like 2 minutes ago, I was like, man, nothing. Literally nothing's happening. But in the last like 2 minutes, my hands and my face are going a little numb. And I don't know, I'm feeling happy. Feeling happy right now. So I think things are just starting to kick in. So keep checking in. All right, man. 40 minutes, and I'm feeling like all my appendages feel numb and feel like it's hard to explain, man. It's like you just don't want to move, really. You just kind of want to sit back in your chair and just kind of let the world wash over you. So right now I'm working, trying to get some work done on my books, but words aren't coming very well. Mind's not concentrating so well. Tongue's feeling a little numb. But yeah, shit's just like starting to kick in like the last like 10 minutes, man. It is ramping up exponentially. So I'm getting ready for a good time. So I'm like 2 hours in, and it took every ounce of energy to come out here and talk to you. I am right now locked on my couch, just watching concerts over and over. Right now I'm on of Monsters of Men. I took such a low dose tonight. I'm not having the head journey like I had the last couple times. But my whole body it feels like jello, and my head's just kind of swimming around, but not really thinking of much. Last couple times, I mean, the journey took you through some really weird emotional places, but tonight it's just, my body's just mellow and I'm enjoying the music. So yeah, I don't know how many more of these I'm going to be able to do, because it took a whole lot of energy to stop what I was doing and coming out and doing this. So, all right. Yep. All right. Well, it is like 1:30 in the morning, so we're looking at math is not my strong suit. So we're about 4 hours into the trip, and I didn't take nearly as much as I did last time. Only about 1 gram. I definitely didn't have the same head trip that I did last time. But it's been a great night. Just listening to music. I went down a rabbit hole of different bands that I like, and
It was a good time. My whole body kind of feels like Jello right now, but I'm about ready for bed. I've been up since 3:45, so I'm going on about 24 hours right now. So it was a good trip. I definitely think that brewing it in the tea maybe minimize some of the effects, and so I'm just gonna have to suck it up and man up and eat the what I got left next time. But it was definitely a really good trip. So thanks for watching Mile High Podcast.
Nice, Dave.
I got to work. I'm so happy.
You did get to work.
Now I'm feeling like I can turn it off. Turn it off too.
I like that, and it was a good representation of what a trip is. And I agree. There's a couple points that you made on there. Number one, the microdosing. To me, a gram is a good microdose. A gram I could drive a car on generally.
No.
If I had to.
No. Hell no. I couldn't drive a car.
If I had to, I could drive a car on a gram. I could do almost basically whatever I need.
Driving a car on Shrooms, not sponsored by Truckee Pacific.
Right? Not sponsored by anybody here.
Yeah. But I like the microdosing aspect of it. I think microdosing is the way to go. The other thing that I do is, and Mel and I do this a little different than you do, is we'll take some shrooms and then it'll get about an hour into it.
We'll take a little more.
And we'll be like, well, now we got to take some more.
So we end up taking a gram and a half.
Yeah. And we sometimes may do it a second time, depending on how early we started doing the shrooms. Like if we started doing the shrooms at 7 o'clock and we had enough, we redosed at 9 and probably 11.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's just peaked, growing.
Yeah.
But we never end up taking more than about 2 grams because we start with a gram and we do little half a gram.
But our friend that we did shrooms with, she had some real straight out of the ground. Yeah. And so they were different kinds of shrooms. And we did hers purely with tea. And I actually think her tea really kicked our butt. I think it took us to a different level that night. I mean, it took me, I couldn't drive for 7 hours after we took those shrooms. So
yeah. And we just eat ours.
Yeah,
it's gross. I can't. I try. And the problem, so this is a cycle. Then I don't like the taste of it. So the best thing I found is putting it into a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or mixing it with a little bit of ice cream. But then your stomach is also fighting to digest the mushrooms along with your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so it takes longer for it to kick in and it will minimize the effects. Some of it will be absorbed. So you have to, eating it, drinking it is probably the best way, the most direct way. I tried to do the tea. I probably fucked it up. I've never done the tea before. So I probably fucked it up. And I think I might have diluted the effects a little bit by the way I did it. But it's all, I'm willing to try again. I'll just keep trying until I get it right.
I think it's a combination of maybe you take a handful of shrooms and then drink the tea, because that's really the most intense trip that Mel and I had on this particular batch of shrooms. Is we did about a gram and a half of shrooms that we ate, or a gram of shrooms each, and then we drank a gram of shroom tea, and that was our trippiest trip. The other ones were cool and they got your head all oh, but that one was a serious trip for me and Mel, not the third person who was tripping with us that night. She did not have the same experience.
Yeah. I always, when I first started, I didn't like the taste either, and I just do it in chunks and sip 7-Up in between because it fizzes and removes it from your teeth. Because my problem is it sticks to my teeth, and then I'm but if I could just get it chewed and down, I'll be fine. But now I don't know, it's easier.
But we're not an ease of drug use. I mean, the truth is, or the tastiness of drug use, ecstasy is really the easiest. It's literally just a pill. You just take that shit and then you're gone, and then it's fine. On the list of
but it's
ease of drugs use, that one's really easy. It doesn't taste bad. I don't have a problem with the taste of shrooms, but that's also because I know what they're giving to me, so mentally I've already made the agreement. I'm whatever, this tastes great because of what's about to happen.
Well, I think I'm in my own head. I'm I am going in knowing that it's going to taste like shit to me. So then I'm I just gotta get over it. put in some flavored juice or something like that and just shoot it back.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's really all that we could do. Before we talk about what we think the future of magic mushrooms is going to be, did you get an answer from your parents, Dave?
No, but my dad did say that he thinks that our openly begging for shrooms, he hopes that works because he has a vested interest in our success. So.
I knew. I'm telling you, this is why I have platforms on things. People in Colorado, reach out. I would like your shrooms. That's what you need to know. Speaking of that, so Denver, let's talk right before we close this whole thing out. Let's talk a little bit about legality, where Denver is and Washington State are, and where we think it's going to go. So, Dave, do you know the legal status of mushrooms in the city and county of Denver?
Yeah, it is on the decriminalized. That is the level that we are at. So it is illegal to sell. It's illegal to consume. It's illegal to buy. But if you get caught with it on you, then you don't get in trouble. It's a big step because that is the first step that we had.
Right.
And it's like us and Oakland, I think, are the only two cities that are decriminalized. But a lot of it's decriminalized because they want researchers to do more research on the effects of magic mushrooms. And once you have more research behind you and more data, then that's what you and the lobbyists will do. Like they'll take that information, say, hey, this is an amazing product for people with anxiety or depression. It could be a breakthrough drug for people who have chronic depression or whatnot. And, kind of start how marijuana was. Marijuana started as decriminalized, and then more research came out saying these are the health benefits of this particular drug. And then it became available to people who had a medical need for it. And then they saw that the crime wasn't going up significantly, accidents weren't going up. And they're making a shit ton of tax money. So they're like, okay, so it's not that bad. Now we've done this experiment. Let's go ahead and start rolling with retail. I think mushrooms are very much on that same path. So you decriminalize it. It's got to get more research behind it. It's got to get in to some of these hospitals and mental health facilities so they can test it and show that there is a medical benefit for this. And then eventually it'll be available. But it's going to be 5 years minimum.
But it's decriminalized at the level of weed. So let me refocus it to people. There were a lot of marijuana dealers in the late 90s and early 2000s. We need that many shroom dealers out there, and they need to contact My Life Podcast. If you contact us, I will start a shroom podcast where I just eat shrooms and talk to people too. Do it once a month. It'll be great.
I'm down for that.
Yes, I knew. People are always down for that. The future. What do you see for the future of magic mushrooms? Mel, where do you see it? I mean, especially because of what you're going into and what you're studying. What do you see the future of magic mushrooms? Are they going to be legalized? Are they going to be used in treatment to help things like depression to have? Where do you see shrooms in the future? What do you see for this?
It really depends the most on, it just depends on how politics plays out, really, right? I think it will eventually be legalized but I don't know, 15, 20 years, like there has to be a lot of research. And it's, like I said, it really depends on which party's in control, because, some parties may fight any kind of legalizing it. So I don't know.
Joe ain't out there backing federalized weed right now either.
But I do think that eventually it'll be legalized in enough states like it is with weed.
Yeah. No, I think the future of shrooms are, I think they're like anything else. Hold on 1 second. Okay. I think the future of shrooms are broad. I think it's going to, I don't know if it's going to get to the level of dispensaries like it is now.
I can imagine that.
But it is definitely going to be more like little specialty shops.
Yeah, I definitely. I think it'll be like states like Colorado, Seattle, Oregon, California. There'll be, I don't think there's going to be nearly as many states. I think weed will eventually go legal in all 50 states. I think we'll federalize it finally. But I think mushrooms will only be in a handful of states. And even those handful of states, I bet you it's going to be, you have to have a legitimate medical reason, because it is a powerful drug. And if you like do it too much, like that will impair your driving ability. That will impair your ability to function. Like if you get blackout drunk, that is about that level. Like, you are a danger to others around you if you're not careful. And so it has to have like a lot of research on what is a good dosage, and have it available to people who have a medical need. And I can't imagine it's going to be retail for a long time for that reason.
That phone ring, I think, was somebody who has shrooms.
Oh my God.
So with that, we are going to wrap up this episode of the Mile High Podcast. So hopefully it works out for everybody. Dave, I don't have now that you don't do an outline, I don't have everything that we need to say. So get prepared to do that. All right. Mel, thank you so much for showing up. Dave, thank you for letting me step right back into the host seat as soon as I'm available. It's fun. All Mel and I have to promote really right now is go check out Mount Shores on eBay. That's where we make our other level of cash. Check it on Facebook. You can follow us there. We got some really cool shit. If you're looking for a $5,500 piccolo, we are your people.
Piccolo.
And so, Mel, thank you so much for being here. Dave, tell us what you had to promote and run us through that finish cycle.
All right. So I am promoting Caldera, which is my book on Amazon. I am also promoting Mr. Santori of Santori What Now and the Santori Project, one of our best friends here on Mile High Podcast and Truckee Pacific in general. We started a new podcast this week. It's called Santori and Hawk's Favorite Albums. And we did a deep dive podcast about Rush's 2112. And it turned out great, especially for a first episode for us. It turned out really, really well. And it's pumped us up. We got a lot of really good reception. It's one of our most, out of like 4 days it's been on there, it's like one of our top 2 podcasts that we put up on Spotify. So, nice. I mean, people were getting a pretty good reception for it. So we'll be recording another episode for that here in the next couple of weeks. And we're going to talk about Nine Inch Nails' Downward Spiral, which is my favorite album of all time.
I thought you meant the band's trajectory.
Yay. That's funny. I like that. So James tasked me with trying to find all of our social media stuff. We're on Facebook at Mile High Podcast. We're on Twitter at High Podcast. You can email us at themilehighpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, if you guys want to be half as cool as my mom and dad, you can throw a couple bucks our way at Venmo, and you can get us at Truckee Pacific 303 on Venmo. Just throw us a couple bucks. Like I said, DM us, slide into our DMs, tell us you got a little shroom action going. We'd love to meet you. And that's all I got, James. Make sure we had a great couple seasons. Last thing, I'm so sorry. I have so much shit. I've had so much shit just pent up.
You've been holding it.
Me and Nicole Gorey and I, our comedian friend from Chicago or Illinois area, we are going to do a Mile High Podcast dating game. We're going to do a show called Weed Daters. She has some comedian friends of hers that are single, and we're going to try to find some people to come on. And it's going to be like a Bachelor style or a dating game kind of show. So, and she's producing it. I'm happy to let her run with the vision of her and give her a platform for her to do her stuff. So be aware of that. And then that's it. I swear to God, I'm done. I'm done.
There you go. Well, guys, check us out on all the platforms, like Dave said. It is so good to be back. Thank you for coming out. It's been a good Friday from us here at the Mile High Podcast. Have a good night.
Good night. Good.